Well, hello and welcome to this is the first episode of I'm not sure what we're going to call it yet, but it's a King's Lynn special where I'm going to be sat down here and I'm going to be talking to Sam Kelly, who so far this season he had a tough start to the season, but he's now excelling in the King's Lynn side. How are you doing today, Sam?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm happy to be here. Episode number 1. No pressure.
No pressure on you at all, no. So I guess we'll jump straight in. Obviously, you're playing for King's Lynn Town right now, but
Yeah.
where did you start? Where was the love of football for you, and where did it come from?
Well, I'm the youngest of 3, so my 2 older brothers, I sort of just followed their footsteps. I'm from Huntingdon, which isn't too far from King's Lynn, about an hour. There's just a local team called Huntingdon Rowdies who play in green and white stripes, and it started from there really. My dad started off as the coach, sort of learnt my trade, and it weren't long before I'm under 8s, under 9s, and I was joining Cambridge United.
Which obviously for any boy around that area is very, very good. Cambridge United is quite a good team to be joining around the Huntingdon area.
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely when you're that age, definitely the biggest club around Huntingdon that you could possibly get picked by. But yeah, I spent quite a few years there until I was about under 13s, I think. My 2 brothers got a move to Norwich a little bit later, and it was a bit of a stretch really to get to training at to get them to training at Norwich and me to training elsewhere. So it weren't long before I sort of followed the footsteps there and joined there. Sort of a +1 bargain that they had 2 of my older brothers, I think.
Well, you say that you've got Ryan, who's obviously in the team, and they had him and his brother there, so it's not like they aren't short of brothers being there. Obviously, the Murphy twins as well. But
Yeah.
you said about your brother, he plays around the same level as you now, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's not long packed it up though. He was always playing for St Ives, which is 10 minutes from Huntingdon, probably less. But yeah, he done his scholarship at Norwich and he got a first year pro. But my eldest brother moved to Australia and started travelling Australia, and he always had him in his ear saying you got to come out here and try it out. And I think that's what set him away off the path, if you know what I mean. It's quite a long journey, football.
Yeah.
And Danny, who's my middle brother, it weren't long before he joined Ross out there, and then he come back and started playing locally for St Ives, and yeah, you're right. Until last season, they've been in the same league for quite a while, I think.
Yeah, I had a little look, and they had been. They haven't seemed to push up at all in the leagues. I think they've just been in the same league, kind of at a standstill, as you can kind of say. Going on from the Norwich Academy, so how was being there? Because obviously we don't really see what's going on with academies these days, because obviously you have bits like the Man City one, they got fined for it and things like that. So what actually was it like getting picked up by them and going there?
To be honest, because I had my 2 brothers already there, I sort of had them sort of test it out, and they sort of gave me all the advice going into it. But a funny story is actually Mike Clunan, Sylvester's a nickname when he was at Norwich, but he was the first lad that I walked in at under 13s possibly, and he was there first in the dressing room, just sitting there waiting for the rest of the lads to turn up, and he was my first teammate, you could say, because I joined and I had signed and I'd gone to wait in the port cabins where they were back then, and little Mike Clunan was sitting there, and he sort of took me under his wing. I didn't know anyone, and he sort of blossomed from there. To be fair, I'm still really good mates with him. He played a massive part in me coming to the club and sort of put me in contact with the gaffer. But yeah, you say about academy football. I mean, there are pros and cons to it. Obviously, you get the great coaching, and you sort of, if you can make your way up through the steps, then it's great. But there's just as many positives as not going through the academies. I mean, what you probably don't learn is like the will to win. In the academies, you sort of, it's just all emphasised on how you want to play in total football and things like that. Whereas when you're coming through the grassroots, I think you probably more see now the desire to win and the hunger.
Well,
to sort of,
you've got the main one of Jamie Vardy, of course. He was
exactly
dropped out, and then he came up. I think he played for, was it Stocksbridge, and then came up from there. And you could see that when he's got the willingness to play, like he has now, he's scored. I think he scored in the last 6 games for Leicester. So he's still at his age. He's still got that drive to try and get the win for the team that he's playing for, which is incredible for them.
Exactly, and that's probably set up a load of, it's probably set a pattern now for other clubs to go looking, and it probably will be down to them sort of players, like even Andre Gray, who was sort of making his way at that level and then got his move and things like that. So it's definitely going that way. And, the way the gaffer's got us playing, it's easy for higher clubs to come and sort of have a look at how we play and how we can fit into certain teams, and that's credit to the gaffer.
Yeah. We'll go on to that in a bit. But obviously, so you get your first proper contract, which would have been for, was it Cambridge you got your first proper contract?
No, I guess my first real contract was at Norwich. I'm not sure how it, to be honest, I don't really know a lot about it when I was at Cambridge. I was obviously a young boy. But when I first joined Norwich, I guess it was the real contracts. Obviously, I went in to do my scholarship there, and I think that's probably the main start of your footballing journey. Well, a footballing journey. It's not every journey, but more often than not, you do go on and do your scholarship somewhere and learn your trade.
Yeah.
So yeah, probably Norwich was my first sort of my step.
And then going from there, you've been to a whole load of clubs around here, haven't you?
Yeah.
Obviously, you've been at Norwich. Then you had a long stint at Port Vale, which obviously playing in a higher league is you've got the experience, haven't you?
Yeah. Well, before then, I halfway through my scholarship at Norwich, I joined Everton.
Yes.
And that was, I went from being on a scholarship wave to being on a first year pro at Everton, and it was, I thought I'd made it. Do you know what I
mean?
Yeah. Don't get me wrong, I was nowhere near making it, but that was the next step of, they, at the time they were like, obviously Spurs still are like a very well established Premiership team, and compared to Norwich then, the standards of training pitches, and even though Colney is amazing, the training ground at Everton had all the latest tech and all everything you could ask for, like swimming pool on site and things like that. And looking back at it, you probably don't see how lucky you were when you was there. But I went there and I was riddled with injuries. I'd done my hamstring twice and I tore my quad. And it weren't long before it was over. I couldn't really say that I played a lot of games there. Played and trained with some great players that probably still is,
Who was there around your time then?
Well, I was in the changing room with Ross Barkley and Shane Duffy, John Lundstrom now, who's playing week in week out in the Prem at Sheffield United.
Yeah, he's playing well as well, isn't he?
Yeah, he's on fire. But also Jose Baxter. I mean,
yeah, he's gone down.
It'd be easy to say like one of the lads that are playing in the Premiership now, but the stuff he used to do with the ball was just amazing. I mean, he's had his battles through football that anyone could type in on Google and find out. I think it's been like alcohol and drugs and stuff, but to date, he is probably the best player that I've trained with and played alongside. He was just, he's not necessarily reached the heights as what he should have, but in terms of footballing ability, he's definitely up there.
Saying that was one of the questions from one of your old teammates of who is the best player you've played alongside. It was questioned by Carly Osborne.
Yeah.
Yeah, he that was one of his questions to you. So there we go. Best player you played alongside.
He's not long retired, Aussie. I was with him at Grimsby, and he's a great guy. Quite surprised that he's messaged in, to be fair.
I'll just add this in because obviously he's asked two questions. He's also asked, what advice would you give to a 16-year-old starting up, as we're talking about academy football at the minute?
Advice? Probably to just never quit. I mean, football is a very harsh environment, a very harsh industry. Sometimes if your face don't fit, it might not be necessarily about ability, but it is, although it's a short career, it's a very long journey. There's so many setbacks, like I said, but every setback you need to just be more and more adamant that it's going to happen for you. And I've had a few setbacks. I had a year out after Everton. I mean, I got injured late on towards the end of my contract, and I ended up taking 6 or 7 months out to just recover, right? And I ended up joining Cambridge City, where my brother was playing at the time, and I started training there and played a few games. But it would have been easy for me to just say, you know what, my 2 brothers have been travelling, and maybe this isn't for me. But it was always a dream to be a professional footballer, and it was never really about money or things like that. It was always the sort of, how far can I take this hobby?
Yeah, and I guess with that dream, you got that dream with Port Vale.
Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, after that year out that I had, Neil Adams got the Norwich job, and he was my youth team. He was the assistant manager of the youth team when I was there.
Yeah.
And I more or less just phoned him and said, like, Neil, can I come in and do some training? Like, I'm not long fit. Can I come in and sort of do some training? And I ended up sort of nicking a 1-year deal out of it in the under 23s, which it was at the time. And that honestly probably saved me in a way, because I didn't see where else I was going to go. I'd have had to go in on trial at other clubs, and after a year out, I would have had no sort of ground to stand on. But Neil really sort of stuck his neck out and let me come in and get back into it. And from then, like you said, after that, I joined Port Vale, which is where my real senior career started.
And it says that I've seen you made your debut against Crewe, who, of course, not a hard team to, not a bad team to come up against.
Local derby, straight into the local derby. It was, and that, to be honest, that was probably the perfect sort of introduction to League One football. I mean, I'd gone there and I was just thinking, we was away at Crewe, and the stadium was full. Like all the away stand was obviously full, all black and white flags going everywhere, and I was just looking around. I was looking around just thinking, wow, like it might have only been like, I don't know, 5 or 6,000 there, but I was just thinking, this is it. This is what I've been looking for. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It weren't till later on where I forget who I was playing in my next game, and then there was only a few people there. But when you go straight into a derby and the atmosphere is what it was.
Especially at the start of the season.
Yeah, exactly. I think we drew 1-1 that game, if I remember rightly. But yeah, great introduction to the football league.
Well, yeah. Obviously, you were at Port Vale for a few years. Oversaw a few managers.
Yeah, so I joined there when Rob Page was there, and to be honest, he was possibly the best manager that I could have asked for. He sort of let me know how it was going to be early out. Like, he wanted to sort of drip feed me in and get me some game time, and sort of just let me experience it and be around the lads and stuff. And I was coming on and playing. I started a few games, but he was sort of, even when I started and done well, would then bring me back out and then bring me on for next games and stuff like that. But I got a few games under my belt and come up with a few important goals, and I got goal of the season in that season as well.
Yeah.
And
against Coventry, I think, as well.
Yeah.
Which, again, at that time, the club which were doing quite well.
Yeah, I scored one against Coventry and one against Bury, I think. They were two contenders, but it was sort of the worst thing that could have happened because Rob Page then got picked up by Northampton, and he sort of spoke to me saying that next season's your season. You're gonna, I need you to come in and sort of take more of a starting role. So I was all lined up thinking, yes, like next year I'm going to sort of push on and kick on. And then, Northampton come in and took him, which I don't blame him for because Northampton were a bigger team at the time, definitely. And then they brought in Bruno Ribeiro, he'd come in with a different concept, a different idea. And I started, he brought in a handful of his own players from Portugal and things like that, and I sort of fell by the wayside a little bit. And we were struggling, and I was sort of just biding my time. Again, I could have easily have sort of lost my head and, thinking this ain't right for me, but I just bought my time and waited for my opportunity, and it weren't long before I was in the team and picking up interest from Shrewsbury at the time. I played 10 games leading up to the January transfer window, and we had a bid from Shrewsbury, which obviously I really wanted to go through because in the last year of my contract, and when someone comes in and wants to sort of pay money for you, it's like, what? Why? You want to pay money for me? I'm just a lad trying to make his way. But they declined it, and then it sort of all blew over. I didn't really hear much from them, and that was pretty much my poor Vale career done and dusted.
Yeah, because obviously at the end of that season, the club got relegated, and then Michael Brown comes in, and obviously he probably thought that you were one of the players to let go. Which
it's like every manager comes in, no matter what job they get, and they want to sort of have their stamp and bring in their own players, and you see it at all levels really. Like, not necessarily ability-wise is why you're not picked, but like I said earlier, if your face fits and you got to fit the styles of how they play and things like that. But obviously entitled to make that decision. If you didn't want me, it's one of the long sort of journeys you have to go through and the steps you have to take. But that's what goes back to my point of never quitting and never taking no for an answer, really.
Well, yeah, because obviously you then get picked up by Grimsby and get offered a 2-year contract down into League Two, and that's where a few of the people that have asked questions have come from tonight. How was going into Grimsby then?
Well, when I first joined Norwich the second time, when Neil Adams took me on, Paul Wilkinson was the under-23s manager, and it was he linked up with Russell Slade at Grimsby, however many years later, and that's where it come from, the initial sort of contact. Wilco sort of rang me and said, would I fancy it? And I spoke to Russell Slade, who was the manager then, and he sort of spoke about what he wanted to do and things like that, and I more wanted to get something sorted straight away so I could sort of try and enjoy my summer a little bit and not have the sort of
hassle.
That sort of hassle of hanging over you, thinking where am I going to be, because I had a family. I just had my little boy then, and I didn't really want to be going into the new season having to sort of look for and sort of move areas again and things like that. So I wanted to sort of get something nailed on as soon as, and Grimsby it felt right at the time with Wilco being there, and Russell Slade was saying all the right things for what you want to hear as a new player joining. I joined there on a 2-year deal, and it started off all right, but it weren't long before it all went, the results weren't going right, and I sort of fell by the wayside again.
Because it would have been they would have just got promoted to the Football League again, wouldn't they? There was a 2017-18 season. I think they'd just come up, and that was like their first proper year there. So it's obviously it's hard for a team to make that jump up into the Football League, but they did stay in the league, which is quite an achievement for a team coming up. But obviously, after a year, it didn't really go to plan for you, and obviously you left. But from then on, you obviously then get the chance to play in Scotland, which is quite a big step up, I would say, from League Two.
Yeah, I mean, it probably doesn't get the credit it deserves. The Scottish League is very sort of industrious, and there are some massive teams in that league, and that probably was one of the draws to it. I mean, you're playing the likes of Celtic and Rangers, and that's I keep going back to it before, like a lad with a hobby. That's what you want to be doing, playing in sort of massive stadiums, and to date, it's probably playing at Celtic probably one of the best things that have happened. I mean, for my dad to come to watch the game, and we lost 1-0, but playing away at Celtic is 55,000, I think, and it was just class, to be honest.
What was what was the feeling behind that, though? Because obviously you're playing in front of probably the biggest crowd you've ever played in front of, and it's Celtic, like one of the biggest, the biggest club at the minute in Scotland. I think they've won something for like the last 10 titles there. Yeah. So it's a team that have got the pedigree, and how was that feeling?
Well, you think that some of the Champions League nights they've had there, and some of the players that have played on the pitch, and you're sort of there, and it's all a bit surreal, to be honest. But it sounds a bit cliche, but when you're playing, you don't really notice them. You just sort of, I mean, you can imagine what it was like. Celtic had pretty much all of the ball. We were sort of struggling Hamilton, that we sort of set out to not lose every game, which is something that I'll probably come on to a bit later, which is the difference with me being at Kings Lynn now. I know the levels are different, but it's different when you're setting up to not lose a game, or as opposed to setting up to just, no matter who you're playing, to go and win. You can sort of, how you're going to set your stall up, if you know what I mean. But yeah, like I said, at Hamilton, we went there to sort of not lose, and you don't want to be the one to get to lose your man, and but definitely when the ball's out of play, and you do have a little browse round, and you sort of take in the atmosphere. It's what you play the game for, really.
Well, I guess obviously jump into this season, the biggest crowds that we're probably going to come up against has been and gone in York. Obviously, we've got Chester as well later on in the season, but York's probably going to be the biggest crowd that we're going to face this season, and that was quite an atmosphere that day, even though we did lose 3-0, but we'll brush over that one.
Yeah, to be honest, I mean, they are a massive team for this level. If you compare them to Kings Lynn, their history and stuff,
it's massive.
Win. Yeah, exactly. I think it'll be a different result when they come to our place. I didn't think we played bad on the day, but they're a big physical team. They know how they play, and they got the better of us on that day. But I don't think any of us were coming in the dressing room after thinking, I tell you what, they are a different class. I don't think anyone was. The first thought would probably be, wait till we get them at home. We're going to sort of make up for it.
Well, obviously, because after then you had the Chester game, and those two teams are the biggest teams in the league, and of course, you can see what happened against Chester. Obviously, the boys drew 2-2, and it was, you could see the fight in you, because obviously in between those two games you lose to Nantwich, and it's like you kind of want that push on against the big teams.
Yeah. I mean, they are massive teams, but I've said it before in one of the interviews, we are quietly confident. We know that, we're no mugs, really. Like, we all know that the ability that we've got, and it's probably the closest knit team that I've ever been a part of. And that's probably the one massive difference I can see personally, coming from playing full-time to playing part-time. When you're full-time and you're doing it every day, and you're sort of working all week, like you're training all week for this game on Saturday, and you go there and you lose, it is like, you sort of depresses you a little bit. But when it's part-time, the massive thing that I've noticed is that when all the boys meet up, everyone wants to be there. Everyone wants to kick about. It's like you've been waiting all week to meet up with each other, and it's a laugh. But you're all there for the right reasons. You're all there to work hard and sort of get results. But that is the main difference that I've noticed, is we're so close-knit and there's not a bad egg in there in the dressing room, and that's probably shown the togetherness, that why we always rely on each other late on in games, that something will happen.
Well, yeah, of course. With yourself getting the assist on the weekend for Maz's goal, obviously I was saying to a few people afterwards, like, you've got 5 people on the bench that if they come off, they can make something happen. In yourself, Hawks, Jonesy, Payne, and Sonny. It's like those 5. Even if you're in the first team and then someone from the first team's on the bench, it's like anyone in that team can come on and change the game.
Exactly, and that's what the gaffer keeps saying. That it's I think if you want a successful season, football is a bit sort of selfish in a way, because you want to be playing all the time, and you want to be, you want to be the one that's sort of having your stamp and things like that. But I think if you want a successful season and you want to do well as a team, there can't be any of that. Like, you need to be encouraging your teammates, and if you're being rested, then you want the person to come in and do well. It's not a sprint at all. It's a marathon of, you got to keep players fit, you got to keep players fresh, and the gaffer is good at that here. He is often rotating the team, and when there's games where we can get other players minutes, and then he does that. Well, yeah, but like you say, everyone's got the ability to come on and have their stamp. And
of course, yeah.
You could probably ask any of us that there's always people that are unlucky to be left out. But that is part and parcel. The gaffer, like I said earlier, the gaffer does like to rotate, and it is a marathon, and it's about the collective squad more than just certain individuals.
Yeah.
And it's paying off at the minute. I'd say everyone sort of had maybe not even minutes, but everyone sort of played their part, and whether they're setting goals up or defending or scoring goals, everyone's sort of contributing, and that's what's sort of keeping us pushing where we're pushing.
Well, of course, with a small team, you've got to rotate your players, and fitness at the early part of the season obviously was going to be an issue, because obviously I think it was August, September, we played, I think it was 18 games, which for a part-time team is quite a lot, because obviously you train once or twice a week, and obviously you aren't really used to playing that much.
Yeah, I mean, the gaffer is good. I mean, if we are doing them sort of games, Tuesdays, Saturdays, he does occasionally let us have the Monday off or the Thursday off. We've got a good group. With a lot of lads there, they've played at a sort of academy levels, or they've played at their professional levels and things like that. Like, people know the importance of recovery and nutrition and things like that. I mean, he does trust us in a way to prepare right and look after ourselves. And we've had a few sort of unlucky injuries. Like, you can't really do much about Smudge's arm. That's not muscle related, but everyone does sort of do their bit. And Mike, the captain, he's always on to us to say, make sure you get out there and stretch your legs and do a bit. Like, don't want to be feeling stiff for Saturday. And I haven't got any doubts that anyone sort of throws it in, if you know what I mean. I think everyone sort of knows what we're capable of this season, and what a good chance we've got, what a good opportunity we've got. And I think everyone will be taking it seriously.
Well, obviously, you came on the day when it was you, Foxy, and Sonny came in, of course. I was out playing cricket on that day, and obviously I got the notification from my phone saying obviously you three had signed, and I had actually signed you previously on Football Manager, so you were the only one that I properly knew. And I said on that day, like, this is one hell of a player to sign. And obviously Ian Colville said exactly the same thing. He said that you were a huge huge addition to the team coming into the new season.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure how I feel about that, because everyone, you sort of, when you're signed, everyone expects everything with that sort of introduction. But, you know, I'll be honest, it is a completely different, you know, although I've sort of played at a level, it is sort of something that I've not experienced. I mean, we're setting up sort of with total possession and setting up to win games, where all the clubs that I've been at, I've pretty much been setting up to not lose. And when you're a sort of an attacking-minded player, where you want to sort of create things. I mean, when you're in them sort of teams and it's sort of let's not lose, that does play a part. But now, you know, I am still learning, and you know, the gaffer here, he's done it at the top level, and I'm always learning. There's no conversations that I don't have with anyone that I'm not trying to take things from, and you know, I am trying to just. It has taken me a bit of time, but at the same time, you know, this isn't, like I said, this isn't a team full of mugs. These are teams that are a group of players that have been promoted and done really well year on year, and they've all played at a very good level. And you know, I'm not arrogant enough to come in and say, oh, I should be playing because I've done this. You know, not at all. I'm going to come in and sort of get my game time when I can, and sort of prove my spot. And if that takes me to sort of be coming off the bench and having my mark, or you know, whether I have to work my way in and sort of get a run of games that way, then that's what I'll do. But I'll go back to it. It's not a season of individuals. It's a season of, you know, a collective, and trying to push on.
Well, I think you can see by it being a collective. I think nearly everyone has scored, apart from, I think it's obviously Ryan Fry. I don't think has, because obviously he's been injured for quite a lot in the season. Obviously Smudger hasn't either. But everyone's made an impact on the game, and I just wanted to go to, I think, what has been your standout game of the season, which was Southport, where you started the game and got your two assists. The first one being obviously the one with the 21 passes, and then you make the 21st pass, and Marriott does what he does.
Exactly, yeah. To be honest, I was buzzing when I got credited the assist for that. I was thinking, can I accept it? He sort of drilled it in from 20 yards. But yeah, you're right. That was the publicity we got off that goal was great. I mean, it sort of probably got a few people, you know, sort of casting their eye on us. You know, it got a lot of publicity from Soccer AM and stuff like that, and that's probably half of your job as well. I mean, you've done your bit, definitely, for getting us out there. But yeah, Southport, I've probably played the majority of my games where they have been away from home, and you do set up a little bit differently there. Like, you don't want to, although the gaffer always wants to play his way, you do sort of have that where you want to, first off, not lose, but then when you're sort of settled into the game, you want to then sort of put your trade on it, and we always do that. I mean, in terms of assists, you can play the ball, but it doesn't mean anything unless the attacking players put it away. I mean, I could have easily played that ball to Hendo, and you know, it gets saved, and then no one talks about it. But it's like the minute you play the ball through and they're running through one-on-one, you're just thinking, please score, please score, please score, please score. And then more often than not, they put it in. And then you sort of you get your assist. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we need to talk about this because in the past couple of games you've tried it and it's come off a few times, but you do love a dinked through ball, don't you?
Yeah, I do. To be honest, I've always thought, all through my academy years, I was always playing central. I was always a centre midfielder or a number 10, or, you know, even playing just in front of the back four, because I'd always like to get on the ball and sort of keep things ticking. It was only until I sort of started playing my senior football at Port Vale, and I'm not slow. And when you're a young boy, you're not normally trusted in the first team to go and play that. When you're so young, to go and play that central role in centre midfield. So with me being left-footed, you do normally get pushed out wide. And all through my time at Port Vale and Grimsby, I was probably more considered as a winger as opposed to playing centre midfield. But, you know, when we've sort of got a lot of the ball, and you can sort of pick it up in pockets where you wouldn't normally in other teams. With the movement that we've got with Hendo running and Maz is always on the move, it's you do let your vision sort of take over, and if you can play that weighted pass and like you say, dink it through, then you've got the players that are willing to run, and that's the majority of it really. I mean, if you've not got players on your wavelength, and it's all chemistry at the end of the day. You need to know how people play, and I'd imagine now that Maz and players like Maz and Hendo and Sonny, when they come on and we're all sort of playing together, they'll know that if I've sort of got time on the ball, then I will be looking, and they can make them sort of runs.
Well, yeah, against Gateshead, I think in the first minute you had the through ball to Sonny and it went wide, and obviously 5 minutes after you coming on and you produce that ball for Mazza. It's like you're there, you've made your stance on the game.
Yeah, I mean it's credit to the staff really. I mean they've sort of collected a group of players that can all sort of fit the mould of how the gaffer wants to play, and it's just a matter of time where you want it all to sort of fit and all connect, and like I say, everyone sort of knows how we're playing, and we will only get better, I imagine. And if we've probably experienced the benefits of coming up a league this season by playing on better pitches and playing in bigger stadiums, and the group of players that we've got, you could put the better pitch you put us on, I think the better we play.
Yeah, obviously Southport was a really, really nice pitch, and when we played Alfreton away in the FA Cup, that was magnificent. And obviously we're playing them in December. But they've also had a few games called off recently for the pitch, so it might not be as good as it was obviously in September. I think we played there. But
exactly. I mean, even at Hereford away, I mean, they come to ours and sort of played for. I mean, you haven't got to know a lot about football, but they come and just parked everyone behind the. And I was quite frustrated that game because I sort of come from Southport and we had a flyer, and then it was set up for Hereford at home, and I was thinking, right, this is my chance to really just go out there and show what I can do, and they come and just you're sort of playing behind the striker, and they nail everyone behind the ball, and you've got no room to sort of create anything. And like I said, you've not got to be a genius about football to know that they've come there for a draw. But then they take us to their place, and it's like playing on a carpet. I mean, they'd have been probably better off going for it at our place. And we played some great football that day. They couldn't get near us at times.
Obviously, going up 2-0 in the first 6 minutes probably did help.
Yeah,
didn't it?
always helps. Yeah, definitely. In terms of ideal starts, that's up there, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, it was odd because obviously I couldn't make it because of work, and I pretty much just got home, sat down, and I had two things going through my phone. I was like, it's 2-0 after 8 minutes. What on earth's going on here? And obviously, it wasn't Mazza who I thought it was going to be. It was the two centre backs on the day in Rory and Ross, and it was like, well, like that doesn't normally happen in the first 8 minutes like that, but it did.
I think Roscoe had his misses at that game as well. I think that's why he was so.
That was, I think it was his first goal in front of her as well, I've seen. So that was...
Yeah.
But, obviously he scores and you set up Sonny for his goal as well, if I remember rightly.
At Hereford?
Yes.
No, I think that was Hawks that set that one up.
It was Hawks
come on, and I think it was a double switch, and Hawks come on, and he had a shot, and it sort of just ricocheted to him, I think. But Sonny's a great player. I mean, he's still so young, and he's got bags and bags of talent. I mean, he's one that didn't really go through he didn't get his scholarship, and that's what I was saying about different routes. He didn't get his scholarship, and he sort of joined up with Jarves and in the sort of shadow squad. And we got a little gem there, I think.
Of course, he was playing for Wroxham last year, and I've got a cricket friend that plays for the Wroxham reserves, and they've said that he's probably one of the best players that they've seen play for that club. Of course, obviously they've got Grant Holt playing there now, but at the time he said he's probably one of the best players, and obviously he's shown that with a few goals that have won us games, including Kettering and of course Bradford, which I would like to talk about. So obviously you come on and your ball into Mazza helps us, which was a really, really good ball in, and obviously that makes it 2-2. But like, I just want to ask you this question because we've seen us go behind, so like sometimes during the season, obviously Bradford, Southport, to just name a few. When you go 1-0 down, do you expect that you'd still be able to win the game?
Definitely. I mean, we go out to win every game. I don't think the gaffer's sort of shy in saying that. We do. We know we've got goals in our team. We know we can sort of drain teams down with the possession that we've got and the togetherness that we've got. You know, we always know that we can score, and it is a sort of never say die. Like we will just carry on going. And like you said about the strength of the squad, although it's small, there is always players on the bench that want to come on and sort of make their mark and try and make a difference. And I think if you're the player that comes off and they go on and do that, you're celebrating like a fan because we know what sort of position we're in and how much of an opportunity we've got to sort of do something special this year. You know, whether we're sort of saying that we don't want to get relegated, but we are quietly confident that we want to be in and around the playoffs. I don't think there's anything wrong with saying that. We're just going to keep taking each game as it comes and see where we are. But yeah, it's definitely a togetherness that our squad, we are quietly confident that we can do something special.
Well, you say about saying you're not going to get relegated this year. I think the last 2 seasons, or maybe even 3 seasons, the highest points total of the team being relegated, I think, has been around 37, 38, which of course we've now surpassed in 18 games, 19 games. So it's and we've got about 25 games left. So it's like I think we've done it.
Yeah.
But I will now like to ask you a few questions from a few fans and some ex-teammates, if that's all right. I'll start off with Jamil Matt, who obviously you played alongside at Grimsby. He's asked, what is your favourite memory from your career so far?
My favourite memory from my career so far is possibly my league debut. I mean, at Crewe, that is sort of the point that you are now a professional footballer and you've made your, I've got the shirt framed in my house of my league debut. But I can't write off Celtic. I mean, it was a sort of a night game. It was
under the
floodlights.
Under
the lights. Everyone, all the away fans, all their home fans, were singing all game. That's definitely something that I had my dad come to Scotland to see the game. So even for him to sort of, it would be quite surreal for my dad to sort of see his son playing in that sort of environment. My parents would have made. So I have to say probably Celtic.
Okay, which obviously is fair enough to play in front of 55,000 people. What is it like playing under Ian Colbass, and has he been able to change your game at all?
First off, it's brilliant. I mean, like I said, it's completely different to anything I've experienced. He is completely, he fills everyone with confidence, and that he always reiterates that we can sort of go as far as we decide to, as long as we keep working hard and keep working for each other. In terms of what he's taught me in the short time, is probably to sort of be more demanding of myself. I mean, there's times where I get the ball and I get caught up in the possession side of things and want to keep the ball. And the times where he spoke to me individually with the backroom staff, it's always, look, go out there and express yourself and sort of play with freedom and be positive and drive at people. That's the sort of conversation that I've not had with any of my managers. It's always been look, defend first. We're going to do this. Like, we're going to set up to not lose. Whereas now I've come and I'm hoping that it'll be probably my biggest learning curve of my career so far. I mean, you could say it's a lower level, but there's some big teams and some very good players playing at this league.
Yeah.
It's more. It's not so much about. I reckon you could pick any of our players and drop them in a football league team. With me experiencing both, there's no one that would really necessarily stick out as not capable. Definitely. So that's what I mean. I'm always got an open mind. I'm all taking things from conversations, whether it's with Baz or Baki and everyone really.
Which obviously is good, because obviously being a footballer, you sometimes have to adapt your game and come to play for it. And I think that was one of the main reasons why Marritt's probably stayed around, because he enjoys playing this game, and obviously he's got the players like yourself to provide the balls in for him to score. So it's a club where it seems like you feel like you're part of I would say, bit cliche, part of the family.
Yeah, well, I've said that earlier in a previous interview. It is a close knit family. Everyone does sort of want everyone to do well, and you could go on to family that it is local to my area, Huntingdon. It's easily commutable for part time, and it gives me a chance to sort of try and set up a base. Football is glamorized to the public that you're a professional footballer, you do this, you do that, but people don't see the ugly side of it, that you're moving every other year, or your son has to go to school and you have to take him out of school and all these little things, and you're then renting a new house, and then you've got to move, and it's not glamorous at all. So definitely sort of being in a sort of commutable area, that definitely ticks my personal box of family. I mean, I know you're talking about family as a football club, but it all sort of ticked all the boxes really with Kingsland.
Obviously, it's just around the corner, and it being the biggest club in Norfolk, which is always quite good. Last question, which I'm going to ask, is obviously you've kind of brushed on it, but where and how far do you think this club can go? And that was asked by Alfie Mortimer.
How far do I think this club can go? I mean, the chairman's willing to do anything. I think he's assembled. Obviously the gaffer sort of had his first spell and got someone else in, and it didn't really go to plan. And he sort of made a decision to have that phone call and see, sort of rekindle what was going on before with the gaffer. And like I said, they've all sort of assembled a team, and how far do I think we can go? I mean, I keep saying it, we are quietly confident, but we're just going to keep, it sounds so cliche, but we're going to keep taking each game as it comes. It's a roller coaster, a season. You can be flying. You can be flying at one point, and I could say we are flying at the minute, but a few injuries, or we're not adding to the squad, or replacing injuries, or if people were to leave the club, the chairman needs to be there to sort of back the gaffer, and the gaffer needs to back the players that he's got, and we can go as far as we choose. I think we're going to go out and try and win every game and see where it takes us.
Well, of course, after the game against Gateshead and the game last night, which Hereford drew against York 2-2, we do sit top of the table, 1 point clear of York, and with no games in hand as well for York now. So we are top of the league, and it's now getting into December, and it's normally around Christmas time that you reevaluate where you're going to aim to be in the season. But we're doing an all right job so far, aren't we?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we was all sort of doing our own thing last night, and everyone was sort of had a quiet eye on the game. No one was really talking in the group chat about it. I think obviously York went 1-0 up early on.
Yeah. First couple of minutes, yeah.
Yeah, it soon popped up in the group chat that Hereford were 2-1 up. And I think it was Jonesy that put it in the group chat straight away saying, "Come on, boys," and everyone sort of got a bit chirpy. And then it weren't long before they equalised, and I think it was Hendo that put in the group chat, "You spoke too soon," sort of thing. And we was thinking the worst, that then they might come back and win. But a draw is probably a fair result. I mean, Hereford, they're up there with the biggest budget in the league. You're probably waiting for that to click. They're not a bad team, but they're probably just waiting for things to sort of click into place, and you're just hoping that maybe they could do it against York and sort of take 3 points off them. But we settle for a draw. It's not about what other teams do. We're just going to focus on. I keep going back to it, but we're just going to focus on ourselves and see where we go.
Just one last thing. Obviously, with Blythe on the weekend, this will come out before Blythe, so we won't know the result obviously now. But you've got Dover in 2 weeks' time, or week and a half now. Have you got your eye to that? Because obviously, if there's a team in the league above, they'll probably bring a few hundred people up to the walks. It's gonna be a big game.
Yeah, I mean, Dover are a big team as well. I've got a few friends that have played there, and they're a strong team. But I think most importantly, our sights are on the league. That'll be our first target to beat them on Saturday. And then come Dover, we'll see. We'll be going into the game like we do every game at the Walks, and to try and beat the opposition no matter who they are. We'll play our way, and I'm confident. I am.
That's very good. Anyway, it's been really, really nice to have a chat with you. Obviously, we've had quite a long chat now. This will be up. I think it will probably be up on the Thursday. So when you are listening to it, hope you've had a nice week, and come down to the Walks in a couple of days' time to hopefully see us beat Blythe in the league. But anyway, thanks for having you on, Sam.
No worries, thank you.
And we will see you next time. Hopefully, going to have Ross Barrows on soon. And I will see you on Saturday, Sam. Hope for a win.
Thanks, mate.
Cheers, thank you.
See you in a bit.